Guys, Ash from Imaginary Goddess here. So I'm back today with another deck profile. I've been testing a few different builds of the Bermuda set because I don't really play the new stuff from the technical booster, and set 8's not looking too great for things that I want to play anyway. So I figure build more decks of Bermuda, well, since I have the stuff, and I've actually finished a Harmony deck featuring Lauris that I really like how it's turned out. It's been playtesting pretty well. Though I won't say it's better than the Vert deck, it is probably one of the more higher end tiers of the Bermuda decks. Anyway, so let's get into it and see how I want to do this. So first off, I run the new starter. It's Maruru. So she's a Harmony Forerunner that has a GB1. Put this into Soul. When your other unit is returned to hand from rear, you can pay the cost. If you do, countercharge 1, choose your Vanguard. Until end of turn, it gives, if this unit is in Harmony, all units in your front row get +3. So essentially, it gives +3 to the front and countercharge. So countercharge is the most important part of this, though, because this is a very, probably out of all the Bermuda builds that I've played so far, probably the most counterblast intensive. So I think this is pretty required for the deck, actually. I like Akari, or whatever the old one was. She's pretty decent, but at least in this variant of the build, you need her as a starter, just for the countercharge. So, down there. Then we go into the triggers. I am running, of course, 4 heals. I'm running different heals just because, in case I somehow have to go all in with my units. They're all different, but and a lot of different arts, so I don't get bored, I suppose. You can play whatever you want. Then, of course, your 4 of different random arts of crits to make 4 crits, and then another 4. This is the Lauris crit. Goes in the soul when Lauris attacks, and gives it +5k and draw a card. So essentially replaces itself if you want another different card, of course. Then I run 4 stands. This is the Harmony stand from the last booster with it, not the one that just came up, but the one last year. And she's a Harmony GB1. If this is in Harmony, this unit gets put this on the top of your deck. At the end of the battle of this unit boost, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your other rear guards, return to hand, choose up to 1 card from hand, call it to rear, shuffle your deck. So she isn't good for that drive check, but she does put herself back into the deck, which will help you, I guess, not clutter yourself with it. And also, if you're going to deck out or whatever, I guess it'll put itself back in there. But I haven't gotten to that point or anywhere really near that point yet. So in playtesting, so that's fine. But she does let you essentially call out and get something else in. But the bounce is the most important part. So moving into grade 1s, I run 4 of the Stride Fodder. We run her because it is a GB deck, so you want to stride every turn. So 4 of her for that. And then because you definitely want to ride Lauris, you want 4 so that if you can use it to search out Lauris if you have to, then you'll do it, type of thing. So then, of course, I run 4 heals, not heals, I'm sorry, 4 Perfect Guard Gs. This is a Kukuri. You're not really going to be perfecting any rear guards. There's no rear guard that you really want to protect as much anyway. And there's a lot of draw power, and you'll get a lot of cards in your hand, so that's not really a problem. But like I said, it's a very counterblast intensive deck, so of course you want things that let you counterblast more. Then we run 3 Shizuku. This is the old one. That basically she's a Harmony once per turn. When this unit becomes in Harmony, look at the top 5, search for a grade 3, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. So she lets you shuffle your deck, which is very nice for against things like Time Leap and whatnot, or Gear Chronicle in general. And she lets you filter out the grade 3s in your deck. So I run 3 of her. Found that she's pretty decent. And then I run 3 Ainas, and she's a pretty interesting ability of she's Harmony. She can give something else harmony when she becomes in harmony. And she's a Counterblast 1, tap herself, choose all units in harmony in the same column and the row as her. It says column or row as her, and they get +5 to end the turn. So she kind of gives it like an L formation, or like an upside down T formation, depending where you're going to put her on the field. But she's very pretty decent actually. I run her at 3. I found that when I was playtesting for Shizuku, didn't work most of the time, in that I always got her and it filtered out the cards in the deck way too much, and which really isn't bad, but she just became vanilla 7k. So she's for more variety. Most of the time you'll just want Shizuku, but you know, when you have options, that's why I like her. She gives you options. So moving on to the grade 2s, I run 3 Vitas. So Vita is a Harmony and a Soul Blast 1. Return her to your hand. At the beginning of each turn's main phase, you can pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 1 grade 1 or less from hand, call it to an open rear, and if you have a grade 4 or greater Vanguard, you can countercharge 1. So most of the time you're going to be using her on your opponent's turns because she's very defensive with Lauris, and I'll show you guys a combo with that in a bit. Then I run 3 Amelias. She's a resist, and when she's returned to hand, Counterblast 1, pay the cost and draw a card. So she's still pretty good. Awesome against anything that targets her, and gives you that free draw, essentially. So then I run 3 Rikas. Like I said, this deck uses a lot of Counterblast, so she's actually pretty important. Her 8k sometimes is terrible, but most of the time you'll be okay with it. She's not that bad, and there's fairly a lot of bounce in the deck, so she gets you back your Counterblast. Again, very Counterblast heavy deck, so we run 3 of her. She's been working very well at 3. Then I run 2 Spica. This is the old Spica of Counterblast 1. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if it's boosted, pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your other rear guards, return it to hand, and then choose a card from hand, call it to rear, and it gets +3. So you could technically return her and call her back out and make it an 11k attacker. So moving on to the grade 3s, I run 4 of the new Spica. So this new Spica is actually pretty decent. She's Harmony, of course, and then when your other unit is placed on rear during your battle phase, this unit and that unit get +2. So she'll usually be a 13k when you're attacking. And then when you attack, you can pay Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. And if she's in Harmony, pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your other rear guards in Harmony, return it to your hand, choose up to 1 card from hand, and call it to rear. So again, she gives you a lot of different attacks. I actually didn't like her at first, but after doing a lot of testing with her and the old Liddy, so the new Liddy I haven't gotten to work at all. So I really want to use the new Liddy because I got the Wedding SP and love the art on the Wedding SP. But sadly, it hasn't been working out. The old Liddy is really nice, but it's more, I guess, to ensure if you have to ride her or whatever, and she's not as useful in rearguard circle. Spica here is actually very nice on the rearguard circle. So let's see. Put that over here. And then I run, so the last grade 3, of course, is Lauris. So she's her once per turn GB2. A lot of people actually don't notice that because I guess they don't use her. But when she becomes in Harmony, choose 2 of your units, they get +5 until end of turn, and this unit gets +1 crit until end of turn. So you can use that very defensively to give herself +5 and maybe something else +5 if you want. And then her on stride is a Counterblast 1, return something in the hand, draw a card when you stride. So very nice. What you want to ride, essentially. You get 3. So that's the main deck. Let's move on to the strides. So first off, I run 4 of the new Lauris. Sadly, I don't have the Wedding yet. Working on that. But she's a GB2, once per turn, Harmony. Counterblast 1, activate ability. Choose a face down card from G Zone, turn it face up, and choose up to the same number of your rear guards as the number of face up cards in your G Zone. Return them to hand until the turn this unit gets. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if all of your units are in Harmony, then choose up to 3, and at the end of turn, they get +5, and she gets +1 crit. So she's your main stride that you're going to be using from GB2 onward. The return, when you use her to return things, it lets you reset up your field essentially, and activate abilities like Rika or Amelia, and so on. So it lets you activate abilities, it lets you refix your field if you have a subpar field set up for whatever reason. So she's very nice for that, and then the extra thing gives you pressure, of course, with the high columns. So she's there. That. Then I run 4 of Olivia. Of course, everyone knows what she does, or should know. She's a Counterblast 1. She's a face down card from name herself. And try to face up. When she attacks a Vanguard, choose up to, if the number of face up cards in her G Zone is 1 or more, pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 5 of your rear guards. If all of different card names, return all of them to your hand. And if 3 or more units were returned, choose up to 2 cards in your hand. Call them to separate rear guards in different rows, and she gets a crit. So she gives you another column to attack with. Sometimes that's pretty nice, but you have a lot of speakers and things in this deck that give you extra columns anyway, or extra attackers, so it doesn't really matter as much. But she's there for options. If you wanted to reduce something, I'd reduce her down to 2 then, because then you could just use her as a final option, and if you need a different G-Zone stuff, then you can add that in place of that. So moving on, I run Sabreeze. This is a G deck. Sabreeze will set you back quite a bit, as in most deck situations you have to use them. But you want the option to be there in case your opponent makes you stuck. So you want that there to kick you out of that. Very important, I think, in all G reliant decks. Then I run 2 Frederikas. She's the new Harmony. Choose a face down G Zone, turn it face up. When she hits a Vanguard, pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 1 rear guard in Harmony, return to hand. Choose up to 1 card from hand, call it to rear, and choose one of your rear guards. Until the turn it gets continuous. If this unit is in Harmony, it gets +5. So she's there for on-hit pressure. Most of the time will be first stride, unless you got to somehow G-guard, or you have some amazing field to set up. But she's your on-hit pressure, and also will flip out an extra card for the Lauris, which is nice. So 2 of those. Then I run 1 Elprina, Soul Blast 1, activate, choose up to 2 rear guards, return them to your hand. Again, this is one of those things, it's a once per turn too, sadly, so you can't like try to do really insane combos with it. But she's there in case you get some things out in the field, and like Amelia and whatnot, and you will just return them. So that. Then, of course, she's run out of space here in the field. So my G-Guards, I run 2 Leonas and 2 Nashas. So the reason I do this is because Nasha is a very easy 20k, and Leona can kind of be that too. I mean, if you want to switch this up, you can do 3 Leona and 2 Nasha, but I kind of like this for balance. Leona's pretty decent too, because she lets you bounce stuff back, but she's not as guaranteed to be 20k as Nasha is. But you could use Leona, bounce something behind Lauris back, and then play something back behind Lauris to Harmony her, and essentially make it 20k as well. So there's that. So there's the deck. Let's see if I can go over a few quick little things here. So there's Lauris. Some interesting combos that you can do. So just don't forget that she gives your front row essentially +3. So you can when you use her ability, which would probably be first stride, honestly. You can use this and whatnot. But so with Aina here, what people don't get, I suppose, is that she gives it in everything in her column and row. So if I use her ability, then both of these Ainas will get +5 and this will get +5. And you can keep doing it, and it'll be like here the Vanguard would get it, and so on. So she's nice for those options. Then of course you have the Shizuku. Speak Up is nice in that, so Aina's here, let's say she's using her ability or whatever, so you attack with this, attack with this, and then you can return this, activate the effect, and so you have another copy of Speak Up. Then call this, and it's in harmony. And then you could attack with this, and then if you get the stand, of course you can stand this, stand that, just that, and then it's still in harmony, so you could return this. You'd have to call something out. One of the things people don't get is that if something, like say this column's in harmony, if one of the cards gets returned, this is not in harmony anymore. It's in the rule book, but a lot of people don't get it. I guess I don't realize it, that both of the units in that column have to be there for the harmony to stay in effect. And of course her effect, if you somehow have one of these out, you can just return it and counterblast to draw a card, and then of course she makes it essentially free and gives you a soul charge. Soul charging actually hasn't been much of an issue in this deck, so like this, I haven't really soul charged that many triggers in testing, so it hasn't been that bad. One of the things with Vita that she'll end up doing a lot is you'll play her here to harmony, and you gotta remember to use her ability on the opponent's main phase, which you would return her to hand and then call something else out, even herself, I suppose, if you wanted to, after soul blasting one and making her a 16, and that stops a lot of decks like Time Leap, Aquaforce and whatnot, pretty much in its tracks. I mean, they'll still be able to do what they want to do, but you won't be having to guard all that. So Lauris is just insanely good, and I don't think people realize that. But yeah, so hopefully that gives you guys an idea about the new Harmony build with Lauris and Speak Up. And you know, if you guys don't like this build, maybe build your own variant of it. If you're having a hard time against this kind of deck, you can kind of, maybe hopefully this build gave you some ideas about how to play against it. But yeah, with that said though, this has been Ash from Measuring Us. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.